So we got a DR chipper here, and originally came in because it wouldn't start, and when I went to try to start it, engine was seized up. So I got it unseized, but the carburetor, so what ended up happening is they didn't have the nut on this air filter, so water got down, went down the intake tube into the combustion chamber, and started to fill up inside the engine and stuff. So I got it unseized, tried to clean this carb, but this carb is so badly damaged due to rust and corrosion and stuff. And then the cost of this carburetor for this engine is extremely expensive. So it's, and then with the questionable issues that I have with this engine, due to the fact that it was locked up because of some rust and stuff from water getting down in there, the customer decided to go ahead and replace it. Now, unfortunately, the thing is this is not going to be a direct bolt-on replacement. It's going to be very close, but it's not going to be a direct bolt-on. So we're going to have to possibly modify the engine bracket bolts, and then the output shaft length is a little bit shorter, or longer. So we might have to cut the sleeve or extend the sleeve, or make a new sleeve. We'll find that out as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and open the box that contains the new engine. And if I remember correctly, I think we ended up getting a Honda engine. Yep. So I'm gonna actually cut this up from here. That way I can fold it out. The same gig over here. Last one. There we go. That way it's just a little easier to get access to everything. So we're going to quickly inspect, make sure everything looks good. So it looks like it came with the fuel caps and stuff. Some paperwork. So we'll set this aside.
It comes bolted to a piece of wood.
Yeah, so they actually did a pretty good job on this. So overall, everything looks good. It seems like it's actually, oh yeah, so it's just the, yep, so it's a Honda GX390, and it looks like everything is good. Yeah, okay, perfect. I didn't want to really crank it because we're gonna have to put oil in it. Okay, so everything looks good here. So we're gonna go ahead and get it off the cardboard, and I'm gonna get this stuff put outside and out of the way because this stuff just takes up so much room. So I'm gonna go dispose of this real quick. I'll be right back. So we got our engine pulled out of the box. We inspected it, everything looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a few tools. I need to get that belt cover removed. Let's see, looks like it's 1/2 inch. So we'll take this off. Before I take that one off, there is one down here. So yeah, when you do an engine replacement, and if you're not able to get a direct replacement, biggest thing is engine mounting bolts, exhaust, and output shaft length and diameter. Those are going to be your biggest things. So I've already did pull this cover off once because I had to take some measurements and stuff. So we need to, I'm just going to put these nuts and washers back in place, just so we don't lose any of them, and I know exactly what went where. Okay, so let's get this clutch off. Good, so it is SAE, and it looks like it is 5/8. So let's get this bolt off. So it looks like we have bolt, lock washer, and big washer. Now let's see if this comes off easy. That's another variable. So let's see here. I'm gonna put some penetrating lube here, and this is where things get a little, it can get difficult because sometimes these things rust on there, on these output shafts, and they can just be a real bear. So, all right, what I'm doing is I'm putting this bolt in just enough that I can hopefully put a pulley puller, and I can gently see what happens when I apply some tension to the back side of this. So what I'm doing is I'm putting right around there and right along there in hopes that it'll kind of help. We'll find out. And I really don't want to go crazy on this. So if it's not coming off, we're gonna have to take a different tactic, because you don't want to break these if you can help it. Because if you do, it's a clutch replacement. So I'm just making sure this thing is centered. Oh, yes, it's coming. I'm actually able to turn it. Oh, sweet, cool. I was able to get it off. It's just a little bit of tension on it. Okay, so I'm gonna put the lock washer and this big washer back in place. Slide this off, pull this key. This is your clutch. You can see the clutch springs in there. It feels good, so we're gonna go ahead and set this down here. And I need to get the spacer off along with that key. So I went key and then spacer. This we're probably gonna have to change. We might have to shave this down. I'm not sure just yet. We'll take a look, so we'll see what happens. All right, so now we got everything removed off the engine. We gotta pull the bolts off where the engine is mounted. That looks like it's probably 1/2 inch. Let me grab a couple tools here. Let's see. No, that's definitely larger, maybe. Yep. So 9/16, which might be 9/16 underneath. Let me grab a socket and a short extension. So reaching under, yeah, it is 9/16 underneath too. Okay, so yeah, the reason why I use the short extensions, because way down here and then having to hold up there, it can be a little bit difficult. So hopefully hold that in place. Let's see. It's like the nut or the end of the bolt doesn't feel, oh, it's captured. No, as in it's welded. That's why it doesn't feel right. Okay, cool, that makes it even easier. Sometimes you don't have them welded on there, and it's because it looks like they have a tensioner. So let's break these loose. Same thing with here. Let's see if I can get my speed wrench. There we go. So it's nut, nylon nut, then washer. On this side, they apparently don't have a washer. Not sure why. Unless someone messed with this prior, which is possible. Okay, so now I should be able to get that off. Okay, so that nut, set that down low. And so they have a little guard here. I think I'm gonna take it off just to give myself a little bit more room. Actually, no, unless I have to. So let's see if I can actually just reach in here with the speed wrench. And then underneath, oh, actually underneath is not welded. Underneath, this is a bolt. So taking the nylon nut off from the bottom and the washer, and then I have the other end. I'm gonna put these on. So I have a bolt, 2 washers, and a nylon nut, and I would assume that it's the same thing on the further one, which is on the other side. So I need to get to this other side because there's this bar here for your mower or whatnot, and that is in my way. It's the same gig, nylon nut, which I dropped the washer on top of that, and then the bolt and stuff. Okay, so we'll set those there. Now the engine should be free. We're gonna go ahead and pull it. And we're gonna set it aside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some comparison before we bolt back up to see what we're getting into exactly. So just getting some of that grit off of there because I don't want it underneath the engine. Let me grab a paper towel. Wipe this down. You really don't want to have any grit underneath the engine. And all right, so now that we got the engine off, this is our belt adjustment. So how this works is you leave these bolts loose here, and then you can loosen this up so that you bring the engine this way, pop the belt on, and then you can tighten this up and pull the engine this way, which contains the pulley, which then also tightens up. Now, since I have access to this right here and I can see it easier, I'm gonna go ahead and spray some penetrating lube on both sides of the threads because we're gonna have to make some adjustments on that. Now, looking at these engines, they look very similar. So the biggest thing is bolt pattern, output shaft, length, and diameter. I think this one was slightly longer, I think. Let me grab my calipers right here. So in terms of length, so this inches. If I am measuring off of this collar right here, let's just say, and then out, let me loosen this a little bit. We're looking at 2.85. Then on here, if I'm measuring basically up to this collar, which is going to be, I'm actually better off doing it this way. it's essentially about the same. So actually, that's really good. The only thing though is it comes down to our bolt pattern here. That would then probably push this engine or push the pulley this way some. I believe this bolt pattern looks like it's the same. So if I go from center there to about there, 3.45. Yeah, they're the same. We just checked, we made sure this looks good. This is pretty much exactly the same. I mean, if you look at it, it's pretty damn close to exactly the same. The output shaft length, if you're going from the face of this, it's going to be a little bit longer. But if you're looking at this collar part here, to this collar part, it's the same. So what that means is that this clutch might want to stick out further if I have this collar in here. So I might
not need the collar.
I think I might need the collar. Let's see here. Let me see if I can turn this engine up a little bit. And I'm gonna grab some anti-seize because it's always a good idea to put anti-seize on these output shafts. I can't tell you how many times I have go to pull pulleys off and stuff, especially if it's been sitting outside for a long time, getting weathered, and everything's seized up. And I've had times where I just couldn't get them off. So put anti-seize on it, saves you a whole bunch of time and grief, I'm telling you. And I just learned that years ago. Okay, so when we took this off, it went on this way. So, and we had this collar before that. I'm gonna try to see what it looks like without. We're gonna go ahead, making sure the key lines up, and slide it all the way down. So with it all the way down, if I put this bolt, it's just not gonna be right. So what I'm gonna do before we start monkeying with this and everything, we really need it installed on this frame. We already know that this is gonna line up. I really don't wanna have to mess with this, this tensioner here for the belt and stuff, because that's just a whole nother ball game. This is going to be easier to modify and make some changes, even if it just means all I got to do is shave this down or cut a new piece piping or something and put it in here to create a spacer essentially. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to leave that on for right now. We're going to bolt this up. And when you lift these, don't lift up by the carb. You can lift up by the tank. You can, oh, this is also bolted down. You can lift up by the valve cover or the muffler. If you do by the muffler, be careful. Don't go super crazy. I've seen some issues, but most of the time, I don't have any issues, but I have seen it happen. Where someone reefed on it and it created, it actually messed up the pipe on the muffler. So this bolt is loose, so I'm gonna pull it out, and I'm going to move it over by the instructions or whatever paperwork that came, because it's not part of this. They actually did a pretty good job with securing this and stuff. I've seen some engines get shipped and they're pretty mangled. It's rare, but I've seen it happen. Okay, so I slide this out, put that over there, put this out of the way, not to get it confused with any of our current hardware. Not sure what this is. Oh, nice stickers. And let's get this in the proper direction, and let's go ahead and lift it and get installed. So I'm going to reach down towards the valve cover area and then underneath this gas tank and watch my head, set it back further just so I can sit it down. I am going to actually pull this off for this moment. Pull this key out and set it aside. That way I'm not having to monkey with this, interfering with this belt guard. I want to move it up a little bit and see if we can tilt this and kind of get it in place. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just lightly get these started. In fact, if looks like there's a little washer on this, I'm gonna take off. I don't know if it's gonna fit that. No, it's a different size bolt. I was just gonna see if I could put another washer on there, but that's okay. So I grabbed a washer. I'm gonna put it on here. It's possible that they didn't put one because of it not fitting, but it looks like it does fit. So it's hard to say why there's no washer on there. Okay, so we'll get this snugged up. And what I mean by snug is just enough that this is holding upright and it's not tight where I just felt it, because I gotta be able to slide this thing around forward and backwards. So this one I could drop down, loosen that up. Okay, there we go. So I can move that all around. Now we'll do the same thing. These actually drop down from up here. Get the nylon nut started down below. And then I have another one. I'll do the same gig over there. This is also why you want everything loose, so that you can kind of just move things around a little easier. So this one's a little harder because I'm having to reach around and underneath. Okay, that's as close as I want to go because I can still move this. Now we got to focus on this belt alignment and everything. So we're gonna get this clutch installed. I'm gonna use the original key that came off of that. It's actually just slightly, I'm just gonna use the new one that came with this. We know it's proper. It's just the other one's just a hair bit longer. Not a big deal. Okay, so making sure key lines up. Now, why is it? I think I know what happened. So what happened is when I was pushing it back, the key was starting to slide up on the taper on that groove where they cut it. And so it started sliding up, and then I just was tapping back and I just made it a little harder. So let me put this bolt in real quick. Now I'm assuming it's the same threads, which may not. Yeah, it's not. So I'm gonna need a different bolt. So we gotta get this pulley off. So let me grab a bolt. Let me find a bolt that fits that, and then we gotta get a puller on here just enough to tap this off or pull this off, so we can make sure this starts to get aligned properly. I found a correct bolt for this. I'm gonna actually get him a proper bolt, but for now I have one. It's actually 3/8 fine thread, which is interesting, especially since usually everything else is metric on these, so it's just kind of odd. All right, so now we'll get this on here and centered. There we go. I don't know why, but sometimes it's just a little easier. So what I was talking about is basically what was happening is if I rotate this, there's a taper right here, and see, as I push up, it pulls it up. And so what happened is I was hitting towards that taper type of thing. All right, so now let's get this clutch back on. Let's make sure this key sits over here as we push it all the way back. There we go. Now let's find out what our belt alignment looks like, and we're going to have to loosen up this engine, back it up so we can get maximum, or not maximum, but some slack out of this. So this should allow me to basically slide the engine back. And now, gotta go just a little more. There we go. All right, so let's take a look at our alignment on this. And actually, that looks pretty darn good. So, okay, I'm liking that. So basically what it comes down to is this spacer. Yeah, okay, so this spacer is essentially that collar in there. And so what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to create a spacer, or actually, what essentially I could do, depending on how far the shield comes out, I might be able to get away with actually just putting the spacer on the outside like here, and then putting this big washer out here with the lock nut, which we'll have to get the appropriate one. So let me grab a lock nut, because we actually probably could get away. The thing is, how many threads are we looking at? So okay, so we have a few threads. We actually might need to go longer on this. I'll have to measure it. But let me grab a 3/8 lock washer real quick. I move the spacer right here. And what I'm trying is, I'm just curious to see how this looks. Okay, so that was on there, and then if I put this flush against here, that might be pretty darn close. So let me pull these, so this bolt and washer and nylock nut. Same thing over here real quick. I do think we're gonna have to shave that down, but it's not a huge deal. So that fits on over.
Or you could put some washers on those. Shave on the studs there.
And I don't feel like I'm hitting that. So, okay, so one way we can find out is I need to put some oil in this engine. So let me do that real quick, because they don't come with oil in them. That's why there's usually a big indicator or sticker saying put oil in it.
That's right on the kill switch.
Oh, is it? Oh, over there, yeah. Okay, so I'm resetting this. This is probably gonna be about a quart if I had to make a guess. So on these, technically, it is tilted a little bit that way. So technically, when you overfill it, as in fill it up and it starts to pour out here, that's its full mark on a level surface. So if you overfill it, just let it drain out, let it level, and then you should be good to go. Okay, so that's half a quart. Yeah, I think this is closer to 1 quart on this. That was 3/4. There's 1. So, hey Taylor, can you push up on this a little bit just to level it for a second? Push up just to level this engine out a little. Yeah, okay, we're good. So when she pushed it up, the fluid started to come up just below the threads here. So because it's slightly angled, you don't want to fill it up to that full mark there, because if you did, it would be technically overfilled. So we're at its full mark. All right, so that was a quart it took. So the reason why I put oil in it is because I need to crank over the engine by hand, and I don't like cranking it over when there's no oil in the system. It's not proper. So what I'm gonna do is get this cover on, just snugged up over here, and pull it over gently to see if I can hear anything, hear if it's rubbing. So set that on like so. The reason why you want to bolt it up, because then it's sitting completely flush. So it'd be pretty cool if we could get away with not having to shave that. Oh, I was getting part of my glove in there. There we go. Okay, so now that's secured. This is gonna move a little bit. What's here? Yeah, I don't hear it at all, so we actually could probably get away with that. Now the question is, I don't know how much space we have. Let's see here, if I was to try to measure, let me grab a tape measure. So if I reference off of this here and measure, we're looking at just a hair over 4 3/4. So now that we know that, we'll go ahead and take this cover back off. Oop. Throwing bolts or nuts. There it is. Set this down here. And that one. All right. So 4 3/4. Man, that gets pretty close. So we're measured off of this, so that's recessed in. So I should be able to reference this exact one over here. Man, that's pretty darn close.
That's fine. That doesn't move at all.
No. Yeah, I think it'll probably be okay. We'll have to start it up and check. But, oh, oops. Let's see, what size was that right off? There we go. And plus, when I go to tighten this all up, in fact, one other thing I do want to check is, I I do want to see, make sure. Okay, so that's all flat. This is flat. Okay, cool. And that's flat. I just want to make sure it's not like tapered or something. So I just double checking that, making sure everything's good there. So if I did put a bolt on there and tighten it up, which is applying pressure this way because of how it's spaced, that I didn't want it to become an issue. And so it looks like, honestly, I think all of this hardware is going to be good because I have about that much sticking out, which is, what, maybe almost ½ an inch. So honestly, I think we could just button this up just like this. So let me go ahead and tighten this up. So that's on there. We have our lock washer on there. And so we got to get the belt on, making sure any dirt and stuff is off of it. And the belt actually looks good. So pop this on. So if you have a lot of slack, it's easy. Just like this, it's fine. Just start from the top, watch your fingers and rotate, and then you can pop it on. You could do the same thing on the other side too. All right, so now we're gonna wanna tighten this belt up. So to do that, let's see, I think this is ½ inch. So what I'm doing is I'm pinching these. I'm kind of gauging on how much slack I have. You don't want them too loose because when you put a huge load in there, you might have a good chance of slipping, especially on these chippers. So you do want to get them fairly taut, which I think we're pretty.
Is your engine straight though? Because it looks like the engine's crooked.
Is it? Let's see here.
It looks like the engine's cockeyed.
Yeah, so it won't be able to. Just be careful you're not getting your finger in there when you're pulling on that. What we're doing, we're just checking straight. It was mentioning that it looked like it might be a little bit crooked. And when I'm going off the face of this into the face of this, so the face of the block here and the face of this, we're at 1 1/8 and we're at 1 1/8. So it should be true. Now it doesn't mean that there's not a little bit of flex or anything, but it really shouldn't have anything. So I think we're good. And when I'm moving this, I'm not seeing any attempts of the belt to try to like move over and pop off. And that's another thing, especially with chains. You can watch them and you can see that they're starting to run one side, and so you got to be careful. So, and we have good tension on that. That should be good. In fact, we can go just a hair. I wouldn't go much more. Yeah, I wouldn't go any more than that. All right, so now that we got the belt on, we got the clutch on, everything's on, we got to tighten up the bolts for the mounting bolts for the engine and stuff. So let's see, I think those were 9/16. Yep, so 9/16 here. And you want to get these, you know, nice and tight. I mean, you don't have to go super crazy, but just get them nice and tight, because what it's doing is it's pinching down against this, so it's becoming one. And the same thing over here on the back side for these mounting bolts here. So let's see, I wonder if I can get this underneath. And if you use a impact gun, don't use your ratchet side of things as the holder. You'll trash your ratchet. So get a closed-end wrench. One thing that's you kind of got to be careful is when you're tightening stuff, especially if you can't see the other end, you want to be careful you're like nice and flush on the bolt or nut, because if you're torquing it, you're twisting it, you slam your hand against things, oh, it sucks. So you just got to be careful on that. All right, so engine's bolted. Now we got to get this cover reinstalled for the belt. Get some of this debris out of here. And then that on there. So there's a bolt down here with a nylon nut. There we go. All right, so that's on there good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently pull on it again now that everything's bolted up and everything sounds good so far. So now that we did that, we're going to need to I need to fix this tire here, so I'm going to put some slime in this tire, or this tube. It has a very slow leak, so I got to put some slime in that, and then we'll go ahead and put some gas in this. We'll bring it just outside and we'll fire it up. The reason why I want to do it outside, because I don't know, because this looks like it's been left outside, I don't know what could be in there, and I don't want to fling crap in the shop. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now and get that tire. Okay, that should be enough to get her started. Okay, so with the new engines, there's not much you have to do. Basically oil and gas, everything else should be essentially ready to go. Hey Taylor, you want to hit the shop door? So now we're gonna pull it outside. We'll move this aside real quick. So it expels out here. I'm going to face it actually. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. It's fine. Okay, so we turn this on, turn on fuel, turn on choke. I'm gonna keep throttle not all the way down, but low. Now we're gonna go ahead and fire it up. Turn off choke, give it throttle. So I idled it down. I want to see the engine should just continue to idle. Everything's sounding good so far. I'm going to throttle it back up one more time. I just want to see how everything is. All right, here we go. All right, so that's basically what you got to do when you have to replace an engine. Biggest thing is output shaft length and diameter, bolt pattern, and exhaust. As long as you can meet all that criteria, then generally it's a pretty simple, straightforward bolt on or bolt off, bolt on type of application. Now, when it comes to mowers and stuff, sometimes you'll have frames and baggers and all that kind of stuff. So the exhaust is usually custom to whatever that is. Now, The exhaust is usually then is sold by the manufacturer. So if it's an X mark mower, then it's probably going to be under X mark, but it may be only for certain engines. So that's where things can get kind of tricky and stuff. I did a tank, an old Cub Cadet tank over there. The exhaust, we were able to only find one that was made for that particular engine and that mower, but there was only one. So you got to keep all that in mind. But overall, basically, you just got to clean this thing up, fix that tire, and then deliver it to the customer.